Welcome to the Lifetime Assembly channel. My name is Isaac, and today I'm going to help you assemble your portable action grip basketball system with a 44-inch shatterproof backboard. Before we get started, make sure the model number of your system is listed in the description below. This video will follow the steps outlined in the assembly manual that comes with your system. So if you've already begun and need help on a specific step, check the description below for a timestamp associated with each step. There are steps in this assembly that require 2 people, so make sure you have at least one other adult available to help. Before we get into the assembly process, let's take a look at the tools you'll need to complete the job. You may want to pause the video now so you can gather the supplies shown on the screen.
Also, you may see us use an impact driver. If you decide to use one as well, be careful not to over torque or over tighten the hardware.
Depending on how you decide to fill the base of your system, you will either need 375 pounds of sand and a funnel, or a hose connected to a water source. This video is meant to be a companion to the assembly manual and not a direct replacement. So for the best results, have the assembly manual on hand as you complete the build. It is also crucial that you refer to the assembly manual to review the safety instructions of this build to prevent serious injury or property damage. All right, let's get started. Take the middle pole, the one with the warning label, and insert the 2 bolts with the washers into these small holes. On the opposite side, add the sleeves to the bolts. The pole bracket oriented like this, then secure with the nuts. Take the top pole, which is the longer of the 2 remaining poles, and slide it onto the middle pole, making sure to line up the hole at the bottom of the top pole with the slit at the top of the middle pole. Add the hardware. It's okay if this hardware spins freely as long as it stays flush. Now we're going to seat the 2 poles together by striking the bottom of the middle pole 5 or 6 times on a piece of scrap wood or cardboard. You will have to use some force, so be careful around your toes. You may need to continue seating the poles until they measure as close to 83.5 inches as possible. It's important that you complete this step properly, otherwise your poles may separate during use, causing serious injury or property damage. Using the same method, add the bottom pole to the middle pole, making sure to line up the slit at the top of the bottom pole with the hole at the bottom of the middle pole. Then seat the poles together by striking the bottom pole 5 or 6 times on a piece of scrap wood or cardboard. You will have to use some force, so be careful around your toes. Again, make sure you complete the step, otherwise your poles could separate during use, causing serious injury or property damage. Secure the poles together by inserting the self-tapping screw into the small holes on the same side as the pole bracket.
These screws are designed to go through the metal underneath.
Lay the pole down, making sure that the pole bracket is facing up, and insert the long axle into the hole at the bottom of the pole. Add a spacer to each side, then the wheels, then the last 2 spacers. Then insert the short axle to the hole just above the wheels. With the pole bracket facing up, place the base on top of the long axle, making sure they rest in these notches. Rotate the pole up so the small axle rests in these notches. Lay the system on its side and don't stand it up until there's proper weight in the base. Attach the flat end of a pole brace to the base, making sure the angled end rests on the pole like this. The holes in your base may not be drilled out. For extra help, click this link here to see a video. Only finger tighten this hardware for now. Rotate the system over and repeat on the opposite side. Attach the opposite ends of the pole brace to the pole with the hardware. It may seem like the bolt is too short, but the nut does catch it on the inside. Now go back and tighten the hardware on the base. With the backboard brackets oriented like this, insert the U-bolt into this hole, making sure it rests into these notches. Add the bolts with the spacers in between the brackets, going through this hole underneath the large hole and the hole labeled number 1. Take a bolt, add a washer, then a rubber washer, and add it to the oblong hole, then secure the T-nut on the other side. When tightening this hardware, you want the bolts to rest on the outer edge of the oblong hole. Be careful when tightening this hardware, you don't want the rubber washer to bulge. Place the plastic guard onto the rim like this, then place the rim on the front of the backboard, making sure the bolts go through these small holes. Add your spacers to the bolts, then place the U-bolt on the backboard bracket through these holes. Then secure these bolts with the nuts. Then add the jab nuts to the U-bolts, making sure it goes all the way down the thread. Add the compression springs to the U-bolt. Then the retaining plate, and secure with the nuts. Only tighten this hardware until the rim doesn't wobble. Slide the carriage bolts into these crimp slots in the backboard channels. Bend the backboard brackets by hand so the carriage bolt goes into this lower hole. Tighten this hardware only until the nut is flush with the end of the bolt. To make these next steps easier, you may have to clear out the excess powder coating in these large holes with the threads at the end of the bolt that you'll be using in the next step. Attach the short extension arms to this top hole, making sure to add a spacer in between the bracket and arm. Only finger tighten this hardware for now. Attach the long extension arms to these holes, making sure the two holes closer together go away from the backboard. Attach the long extension arms to the pole, adding the hardware through this hole on the long extension arms in this hole in the pole, adding a spacer in between the arm and the pole. Don't fully tighten this hardware just yet. Attach the short extension arm to this hole in the pole, going through this hole on the short extension arm. You will need someone to lift the base high enough to get the holes to line up. Then go back and tighten all the hardware on the extension arms until the bolt is flush with the end of the nut. Add the lock tab to the trigger, oriented like this, and secure the hardware. Then add the spring to this nub on the back of the trigger. Slide the lock tab into this notch on the trigger, oriented like this. Take the outer tube and remove the inner channel from inside. Place the handle over the outer tube, making sure the lock tab rests in this notch. Then add the hardware to the opposite side to lock the handle into place. Place the outer tube bushing onto this end of the tube, making sure this nub rests in this hole. On the inner channel, wipe down any excess grease in this channel. Place the height sticker into this channel, making sure the 10-foot mark is at this end. Insert the inner channel to the outer tube, making sure these slits are facing the handle. Then release the trigger and pull on the inner channel until it locks into place. Insert the channel stop into this end of the outer tube, making sure it's oriented like this. Insert the inner channel into the pull bracket and secure the hardware. Attach this end of the outer tube to the long extension arms. You may have to adjust the height of the tube to get the holes to line up. When adding the hardware, add a spacer in between. Only tighten until the nut is flush with the end of the bolt. Take the hardware and insert it into these holes on the short extension arm. Before continuing, raise the system to its highest height setting. Add the springs to the backboard brackets through hole number 2. When adding the springs, make sure it's oriented like this so the opening of the hooks on the opposite end is facing up. Using the closed end of a wrench, pull the spring to this bolt. Now insert the pull cap into the top of the pole. Now go ahead and remove the plastic film from the front side of the backboard. The next steps go over how to fill the base of your basketball system. Click on this link here to see a video, or refer to your manual in section 6 to see how to do this. We've already filled the base of this system, so we're going to move on to the next steps. Now add the net to the rim by threading the large loops onto the hooks. Thank you for watching this video on how to assemble your lifetime portable action grip basketball system with a 44-inch shatterproof backboard. If you found this video helpful, give us a thumbs up. For more content like this, subscribe to our channel. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to our customer service team and check out our other amazing products at lifetime.com.